Today the weather is clear and crisp. There was a hard frost overnight, but it's an ideal day to hit the coast. Let's head out in the camper van to hike a section of the Pembrokeshire Coast Path and have a coffee en route. Hello everybody and welcome back to Rag-venturediaries YouTube channel. My name's John. Today we're out on the Pembrokeshire Coast Path and we're going to hike from Whitesands Bay over to the Blue Lagoon at Abereiddy. This is the Coast and Coffee series and episode number 6. Come along and join me. This should be an excellent hike today, as Whitesands to Abereiddy is a dramatic section of the Pembrokeshire Coast Path. At Whitesands Bay we have views of the large surf beach stretching out to Ramsey Island and the distant Irish Sea. In this episode of Coast and Coffee, we're going to hike 5.3 miles over to the Blue Lagoon at Abereiddy and then 5.3 miles back to Whitesands. Now what I recommend for this route ordinarily would be to catch the puff-in shuttle from St David's up to Abereiddy or Porthgain and then walk back. So you get a much longer walk, but something that's manageable. So catching the shuttle up there, which runs from May to September, and then walking back would be about an 11-mile walk one way. As it is, we've got to go half that distance out and back and do 11 miles because I'm not catching the shuttle. So a relatively short walk today in terms of total distance covered, but it should be quite cool. From St David's Head, which is formed from ancient volcanic rock formations, there are big Atlantic views, and Ramsey Island looks almost close enough to touch. This is an excellent place to soak up the beauty of the environment and connect with the coast, with Carncliddy, a distinctive rocky hill, standing guard in the background.
This distinctive flat-top stone is a Neolithic burial chamber called Coiton Arthur, dating from around 3000 BC. The flat capstone or tablestone is about 6 metres by 3 metres and rests on one large upright. The others have likely been removed over the years through erosion or simply collapsed.
It was this time of year last year that I filmed episode 3 of the Coast and Coffee series, and that was all about identifying 5 proven strategies to bust the Christmas blues. As it's about the same type of year this year, I thought I'd do something quite similar, and I've been asked by a couple of people whether I'd repeat that as well. So what we're going to look at today is 5 mindfulness methods to improve your connection with nature and the environment, which should improve mental health and well-being. So let's chat about that as we proceed along the coast. Hello.
These Welsh ponies are grazing on St David's Head as part of conservation grazing. They look very compact and hardy.
Hello.
And are usually 11 to 12 hands high. With thick coats, strong legs and sturdy builds, they're perfect for coastal conditions found here on St David's Head. They are owned and managed livestock, so I won't approach any further.
It's a very blustery day today, folks, so I'm having to crouch down behind cover to do filming. But saying that, the coast is an excellent place to engage with nature and practice mindfulness principles. So the first principle I want to talk to you about is senses. So using 5 sense immersion to actively engage with nature. So using your sight, sound, smell, touch and taste to engage with the environment that you're in. I've already practiced some of this morning on St David's Head, and I'll put up some footage of that now. But taking the time to slow down, to look, to use your sight, to smell the sea air, to hear the wind, the crash of the waves, the birds, the wildlife, to touch what's around you, the rocks when you're scrambling and climbing, the grass that you're walking on, and then to taste. I haven't practiced any of that this morning, but there could be opportunities in the summer months, etc., to taste blackberries and bits and pieces like that. But to stop and have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, which we'll be doing later. Now, the standard YouTube disclaimers apply here. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist. These are just principles that are out there, they're open source, that you can practice. Anyway, let's crack on. So the next mindfulness principle I'd like to talk about are emotions. Now this is about giving your emotions permission to connect with nature, slowing down and allowing yourself to feel the joy, the wonder, the calmness and the peace of being in the outdoors. Now you can practice this as well by a principle called the sit and stop practice. So slow down, stop, sit for 20 minutes and just look at what's going on. Monitor the environment, see what's changed and absorb what's changed. Allow those emotions to flourish, and that'll build in the end sort of resilience, calmness, patience, and be very good overall for your well-being, promoting mental health. Now it's a wee bit too cold and blustery today for sit and stop practice, so we'll crack on up the coast. But that's principle number 2, which is worth its weight in gold. The next mindfulness principle is beauty. I mean, you just got to look around today to see how beautiful the environment on this coastal path is. But it's taking time to appreciate that beauty. Far too often we're rushing around, looking at our watch, seeing how fast we're covering the distance. Forget all that. Slow down, take your time, absorb your surroundings, and appreciate the beauty that's around you.
As we progress up the coast, there are quite a few outcrops, hills and crags. This one was quite close, so I couldn't resist going up and taking a closer look.
So the fourth mindfulness principle is meaning. We need to know what the meaning is behind nature and the environment, how it makes us feel. We need to be aware of what the environment does, how it changes, seasonal awareness, changes in the weather, changes in the daylight, changes in the patterns of green to red to brown through the autumn, all of those great things. So meaning and how all of that meaning makes us feel. I know what it means for me. I look at wonders like this little crag, which I'm going to go up in a minute, and I know that makes me feel great, because the environment coupled with movement for me is a real antidote. So I'll head up that in a minute and I'll get some meaning out of that, and I'll look around and I'll see the beauty, and maybe we'll stop and sit. Maybe we'll do a brief bit of 5 senses awareness up on the top and then just absorb and see how it makes us feel. Not a difficult little scramble, but we'll go up and I'll try and film some of that on the way.
This little outcrop is called Conperfedd. Only 140 metres, so nothing much to worry about, but it should give fantastic views on a day like today.
This is a great little crag and it's only about a mile away from the Blue Lagoon. So it's probably a good place to actually have a coffee. It's a bit sheltered, it's out of the wind, which is quite blustery today, and probably a good place to talk about the fifth and final mindfulness principle, compassion. And it's having compassion for the environment, nature, and your surroundings. Now, I don't mean run out and join a protest group. I just mean take responsible actions. So when you're out and about, don't do things that are destructive. Don't pull up plants and, kick holes in paths and contribute to erosion. If you're camping, leave no trace. If you're out walking like we are today, close the gates behind you. Have some thoughts that there are other users of the environment, farmers who want to corral and protect their livestock. So it's just having some compassion for the overall environment. So that's our fifth and final mindfulness principle. And just recapping through those, we've had senses, emotions, beauty, meaning and compassion. And within those, we've had some additional tools, such as the five senses immersion, the stop and sit, and the ability to just sit and monitor and see what's going on. Now, I hope you find those useful, and I hope you can use those next time you're out in nature, walking, or in the environment. And most of all, I hope you can employ those to get through this part of the year, which for many can be pretty difficult. If that's you, get out and about, get in the environment, give that a try, and you may well find that improves your well-being and your mental health markedly. Now it's time for a brew.
Well, that was a great little chill out, but I think it's time now to progress up the coast, and as we do so, we'll keep a lookout for the dramatic sea cliffs, inlets and wave-cut platforms that this area of the Pembrokeshire Coast Path is famous for. You may have noticed in this vlog, I kept referring to Abereiddy being only 5.3 miles away. This, despite reading the sign at Whitesands, which said it was 7.6 miles. I was determined, however, to visit the Blue Lagoon at Abereiddy, despite being well behind time. And I realised I would have to run some of the return leg if I was to get back to the camper van before dark. It was worth the effort to get to the Blue Lagoon, which is a flooded former slate quarry formed in the early 19th to 20th century. When it was abandoned, the seawall was breached, allowing water to flood in and fill a 25-metre deep quarry. The water has a striking turquoise colour, and that's due to the slate rock and mineral content. It often appears blue, green or aqua in colour.
Well, there we are, everybody. We are at the Blue Lagoon, which was the end state for the hike. Now all that remains is for me to get back to the van, which is at Whitesands. So I'll crack on and do that now. I won't film much on the way back because it's got to be post-haste to beat the fading light. But as ever, if you've enjoyed this, leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and join me on the adventures that are coming up in 2026.